I got to ask, did Marvin Vettori do enough to earn himself a number one contendership against Izzy? After all, he had a record. He had the takedown record. I'm kind of looking around going, who cares? If he would have had a jab record, a kick record, a takedown record, a submission attempt record, no, that has nothing to do with it at all. Whatever, in any sport, it wouldn't matter if it was football, baseball, basketball, you name it across the board. Whatever's happened is gone. It's forgotten. What can you do today and what's coming up next? That's just how sports work. So I bring that to you because Vettori on paper is a great argument. Great argument. Not to mention, he already had a fight with Adesanya where one licensed judge thought that he won. So I only bring that to you, like, if we're going to talk about paper, who's rightful for it, who's the best guy for it, Vettori went closer with Adesanya than his competitors for the number one contendership did. Closer than Whitaker, closer than Gastelum. Gastelum had a much more exciting fight to the point that it won fight of the year, not just fight of the night. It won fight of the night, fight of the whole year. So Kelvin's not without argument. Whitaker is not without the right to redeem himself after being perfect in his career. Vettori is not wrong to come out with the argument that I've won 2 main events now, stopping guys on very short notice that I wasn't even prepared for. Oh, and by the way, I already beat you, at least according to one judge. A very similar argument in many ways to what Derek Lewis is using to get Francis. We're hearing that Francis doesn't want that fight, that there was something he felt in the Derek Lewis fight and he doesn't want to do it again. We're hearing that. I don't know how much I believe those reports, in all fairness. I really don't know how much I believe those reports, that you're telling me Francis Ngannou is afraid to go in there and fight with somebody. That seems like a tough belief to me. I don't know who put those reports out. If I did know, I'd share it with you. It wasn't anybody of any level of validity, but it's a very similar argument, and it's very tough to dismiss Derek for those reasons. It's the reason that Derek was offered that fight. So if we just use that same logic, and we do understand that Derek was at least offered the fight, all we're talking about here is, can Marvin get offered the fight? Well, then you got to put yourself in Adesanya's shoes, because Adesanya is very unique. He's very unique. It's not like anybody else. Adesanya has not fought anybody in well over 1.5 years that he didn't want to fight. I don't know of any other champion that has controlled his own career as much as Adesanya. So I keep harping back to the idea that you must get Adesanya's blessing. I would guess that Adesanya would like a little bit of parody. And I also brought that to you guys a week ago. I brought you that statement because I was looking at Vettori, I was looking at Whitaker, and I was looking at Kelvin, and I had forgot that Adesanya fought Vettori. I forgot it. So when I told you that I thought that Adesanya would like a little bit of parody and that was good for Vettori, I forgot that they fought. Does that matter? Look, it appears to me that Adesanya is going to have to start redoing fights. Unless Adesanya just gets wild and crazy and calls out Darren Till, which he might, but absent of that, right? And then he's got to get Dana to listen. He's got to get a whole lot of people to listen, but he's shown that he's pretty good at getting people to listen. So outside of Darren Till, it still brings you back to the Paulo Costas of the world who sat out. It brings you to the Whitaker Gastelum, and they're going to eliminate one of each other. One of those two gets eliminated from this conversation, and then it leaves you with Vettori. I mean, I would think that Marvin Vettori is in a really, really good spot right now. And Vettori did some stuff in that match that he didn't get credit for. A lot of the talk was not Vettori's takedown. Vettori's takedown was actually dialogue number 2. Surprisingly and unfairly, the biggest talk coming out of that fight was Kevin Holland's inability to stop the takedown. That was talk number 1. That was followed by a record-setting amount of takedowns by Vettori, which should have, in all fairness, been number 1. But you still missed the fight. You still missed the championship rounds that Vettori pushed through with every bit as much output as he did in rounds 1 and 2. That is rare. And I understand where the audience won't always appreciate that. You expect your athletes, as long as they're on the field, to be in condition to go as long as the play is going. I'm just sharing with you, in this sport, a lot of guys can't. and Vettori proved that he can. Also, Vettori took some big shots, and it's a question of how did he handle those shots, or what did those shots do to him? And guess what? Nothing. Some of you are disputing that he even took big shots right now. I know you are. Some of you are hearing that go, Chael, he didn't take any big shots. Yes, he did. He took some really big shots. His knees just never buckled. He never backed up. He never showed it. He dealt with it and he pushed forward. Vettori's a tough son of a bitch. I'll tell you right now. I mean, he is a tough guy. And if we are to look forward to Vettori versus Adesanya, which if I was to give a prediction, and this is in all admittance, a recency bias. But if I was to make a prediction for how that fight would go, I would just have to look back to their first fight, which Vettori did a lot better on his feet than people thought he would do, and Vettori's takedowns were a lot better than people thought they were. Now, Adesanya's takedown defense has never been at a higher point, so I think that you do have a different fight. But different doesn't necessarily mean you have a different outcome. And don't forget this outcome. Don't tell me Adesanya won. I get it. But when I'm sharing out, one judge said Vettori won. Michael Bisping called it ringside, and Michael Bisping said Vettori won. So when I talk about a different outcome, what I'm saying is, even in the absence of the takedowns, we should not falsely believe that Vettori couldn't just change to his plan B, which is stand-up fighting, and he's pretty damn good at it. That's one thing that could be ignored. And you're going to take shots when you fight Adesanya. He's just too fast. He's just too crafty. You're going to take shots. Vettori showed in their first fight, and then reminded us again Saturday against Kevin Holland that he can take a shot. It's an interesting match. In a normal world, in any other weight class, I would come to you today confidently telling you we're going to see Vettori versus Adesanya. The only reservation I have, because Vettori checks every box. Main event fighter, yes. Proved he can win main events, yes. Top guy, yes. Proved he can go with Adesanya, yes. He checks every box. This is very unique that you need Adesanya's interest. And Vettori got it once. Adesanya didn't have the same pull back then. Maybe getting his interest, I'm talking about Adesanya, back then was you just get a phone call, this is who you're fighting. Maybe, I understand, it was a different time. He got it all the same once. He deserves to get it again. I would like to see Vettori get it again. But we need to hear from the champ. If the champ says yes, then this fight will happen.